Why space? Why do you think it's important for us to have quick access to low Earth orbit?
Well, I mean, actually, technically, I mean, with Tesla and Solar City, they're about helping to solve the sustainable energy problem. So we're trying to make progress on that front with those companies. With SpaceX, it's trying to help solve the kind of spacefaring problem. I mean, I think that a future where we're a spacefaring civilization and a multi-planet species is a very exciting, inspiring, awesome future. And in order for that to happen, we've got to dramatically improve the cost of spaceflight. And that's why SpaceX exists, is to try to lower the cost of spaceflight, which we've made some progress in doing, but still I would call out improvements thus far evolutionary, not revolutionary. But with a lot of continued work, I mean, I think there's the potential for order of magnitude or greater improvements. Reusability being key to all of that, of course. And then hopefully, if we can keep improving the cost of space flight, then eventually, if that trend is in the right direction, it could be leading to a city on Mars, and certainly along the way, a lot of activity in low Earth orbit and the moon, and lots of other exciting things.
So one of the things we're trying to do with the International Space Station is try to figure out which industries will prosper from the use of low Earth orbit, to try to understand or help grow an economy essentially in low Earth orbit. And folks who are doing that are all taking risks today. Our job is to try to reduce the risk as much as we can near term, so that they can get the information they need to really have a business case for the future. But everyone's trying to calculate a risk. So is there an Elon Musk philosophy of risk versus benefit, and when you think is the right time to jump in? I mean, what is your thought on how to approach new industries, innovative areas, and when's the right time to jump in or not? Or do you just, is there no crystal ball, or is it a crystal ball or a Ouija board? I mean, how do you figure out what you should go after?
Well, definitely the Ouija board, of course. Much more reliable than the crystal ball. I mean, I don't really like risk for risk's sake or anything. And I do think that a lot of things are very risky with a low chance of success. But if you want to try to come up with an innovative breakthrough, that's going to be how it is. Anything which is significantly innovative is going to come with a significant risk of failure. But if you've got to take big chances in order for the potential for a big positive outcome. If the outcome is exciting enough, then taking a big risk is worthwhile.
Yeah.
It's really how I approach it. But then once executing down a path, I actually do my absolute best to reduce risk, because, or to improve another way of saying it, to improve the probability of success, because when you try to do something that is very, very risky, that you have to spend a lot of effort trying to reduce that risk as you embark down that path. I mean, when I started SpaceX, I thought the odds of success were very low. I thought we'd most likely fail, but I thought, well, we should give it a try nonetheless. And then I'm not sure if you know what preceded SpaceX, because or why I got into the space.
Well, I remember you trying to purchase a vehicle too from our Russian colleagues.
Yeah, that's right.
What you're talking about? Yeah.
Well, actually, it was the reason I got into space was to try to increase NASA's budget.
Well, God bless you then. Yeah,
'Cause, 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 So I'll tell you, so the roundabout way I thought that might be accomplished was, I thought, well, if NASA's budget was larger, then we could do more in space exploration. And I thought, well, particularly if we could get the public excited about sending people to Mars. And I thought, well, if I could do a small greenhouse and send that to the surface of Mars with seeds in nutrient gel, and you hydrate the gel on landing, you have a little miniature greenhouse, and then you'd have, the public tends to get excited about precedents and superlatives, so it would be like the, sort of first life on Mars, the furthest life's ever traveled, and you get people sort of excited about, well, but maybe we should send people there, like, the hell with plants, we should send people,
Right.
And then I thought, well, that could, if that could get the public really excited about sending people to Mars, then that would translate into congressional support for a bigger NASA budget. That was the goal. And then I didn't have enough money to buy, and I thought that outcome would have a 100% chance of no commercial success. So the 100% chance of losing all the money. So compared to that, SpaceX, which I thought maybe had a 10% chance of success, that was an improvement.
There you go. Well, that makes good sense. So are you still thinking about that? I do remember that conversation. This was the idea where you use Martian regolith, you send these self-contained habitats, not habitats,
well, it's like,
but
it would only
plant
be
chamber
pretty
kind of things, and grow.
Small, yeah,
right,
like a meter across or something.
But just to prove the concept.
Yeah, just to get, I mean, the real goal was to get the public excited. You get some engineering data about what does it take to maintain a little habitat on Mars type of thing. But the main thing would be to get the public excited and, get people to be in, the public to be in favor of a bigger NASA budget. That was the goal.
Well, again, God bless you. That's a worthy goal. I hope you don't stop. So, commercial crew. So you've been selected as one of the providers for the commercial crew. Can you tell us a little bit about where that's headed for you as a company, and perhaps maybe how it's affected your company, if it has, if it's changed anything in how you approach space?
I think things seem to be going fairly well on the commercial crew front. I mean, overall, like there are small disagreements here and there, but overall, I think we very much agree with the way it's being done, yeah, I think it's pretty good. I mean, there are a few things where, it seems like the amount of sort of mass and volume reserved for poop is too high. Sorry, I don't know if that's like, but that's, there's like little things like that. We're like, well, are they really going to do that much poop? But it's quite a large volume. It really is. But really, they're pretty small disagreements. So I think that it seems to be pretty sensible. And then we did the launch abort test earlier this year, which at the Cape, which actually went pretty well. Yeah, so things are going along, getting pretty exciting. Yeah, I think there's also some potential use for Dragon 2 as a science delivery platform. Going to sort of delivering payloads to Mars or other places. We're in discussion with other parts of NASA about some of those ideas, because the propulsive landing, it could really lower the cost of getting science instruments to various places in the solar system. So it's kind of exciting.
So I'm going to come back to that in just a second. But commercial, the crew vehicle versus the Dragon cargo vehicle, clearly there are some significant differences.
Yeah.
Fairly innovative approach, I think, to abort testing, where traditionally you've seen the jettison rocket on top. It's a puller versus the pusher technique, where you utilize fuel that you otherwise would use for the on orbit, but of course you're not going there. So, very innovative approach. Are there other areas where you feel like you're, from an innovation standpoint, you're making some significant strides with the crew vehicle?
Yeah, I think the big items for, well, the biggest item really for Dragon 2 is the ability to do a propulsive landing. and it's basically having heavy thrusters on board. So those same heavy thrusters can then do the abort but retain the engines. So instead of in a normal sort of crewed mission, like say take the Soyuz for example, they'd have a tractor motor on the nose of the vehicle that would have to be, or basically a rocket engine on the nose that would have to be discarded on every flight, which is a potential reliability issue, and then you have obviously aren't able to reuse the abort system, and and it adds bunch of mass. But then in addition, those same thrusters can be used for propulsive landing. So you can achieve a precise propulsive landing, which on land or water, which is I think a significant improvement. I mean, it's sort of also it's sort of like it really I think feels more like the future to have that capability. And then as I mentioned, it can be extended to do payload delivery to the moon or Mars or other places because of the generalized capability of propulsive landing to land almost anywhere.